Welcome to the Shipsgonnahappen podcast show. My name is Tony B. Alongside me is David B. and Timmy D. Today's special guest is John Williams, a driver that I worked with for many years. One of the best drivers I ever worked with. It's Driver Appreciation Week, and we're going to interview John and talk to him about how he got into the industry and get his thoughts. Number 2 is price. Everything's going up again. We've touched on that before. And we will dig back into that and circle it back down, right? So topic number 2 is the vaccine mandate. David B's got that. And number 3 is Timmy D with the Supply Chain 101. Remember, we're just 3 Americans discussing the topics that affect the transportation industry. Our views, the views of us 3, are purely news-driven and do not express the views of any transportation provider or any business entity that uses any transportation provider. It's just 3 guys with 70 years experience. It's just 3 drivers with 70 years of experience talking about the topics that bring the products to our doors. Welcome to the Shipsgonnahappen podcast show, the number 1 shipping podcast show in the area. You can catch us on YouTube, Rumble, iTunes, and obviously www.shipsgonnahappen.com and SoundCloud.2. David B., how you doing this morning, brother?
Doing really well. And if you catch us on YouTube, smash that like button, click subscribe, and check us out as often as you can. Today's show is brought to you by The Great Divide, 743 East New York Street, downtown Indianapolis. Great place to go on a Saturday afternoon, catch some light jazz, or any day really, to go and kind of wet your whistle and have a good afternoon or an evening of
wet
good
your
food.
Whistle, he says.
Right, there we go. So yeah, I'm doing really well. Timmy D, how are you, brother?
Good to talk to you guys. I'll see you guys again. Tell you what, I can't wait to talk to Johnny Dub out there with the being Driver Appreciation Week. Shout out to the drivers. I appreciate everything you guys do. No one in this, kind of to my topic and my point of today is, without them, we'd all be up a creek without a paddle, right? So,
exactly.
Good to be back, boys. Happy Saturday morning. And looks like you need to go out there and trim that grass there, Tony B.
That's right.
Yeah, I've got some work to do with that, right?
So on the weekends, that's what I'm saying.
Yep.
Got a little work to do with that, but we'll get to it. So, John, you with us?
Yes, I am.
How are you doing today, man?
Pretty good. How you guys doing?
Doing well.
Nice to be with you.
Yeah, good morning,
on
John.
this fine Saturday morning.
Yep. Happy Trucker Appreciation Week to you. Thanks for everything you've done over the years.
So, John,
shout out to Big John. Thank you,
John,
sir.
Driver Appreciation Week. John, I told these guys a little bit about you, how much of a hammer you were in the industry, and I really enjoyed working with you, and we just wanted to touch base with you and appreciate what you've done. For me, as a terminal manager and a sales rep working with you. So, man, what got you into this business?
I started at a young age, and I became working in a warehouse, and then I had the opportunity to move up and become a driver, and then I became a driver. And back then, when I was a driver, they didn't have the CDL. And then all of a sudden the CDL came out. So I went and took my test and took my driving test and became a CDL driver.
So how old were you when it all?
I was probably, I don't know, maybe in my mid-20s.
Wow.
So when you said what drove you to get your CDL, no pun intended there, was because you worked in the logistics industry? Because I became a driver, and then they brought the CDL out where you had to have a CDL to drive.
Yeah.
So then I went and I took the test, and I had the opportunity. They paid for it, and I took that opportunity and ran with it. I mean, I thought it was a great ideal, and you made more money becoming a driver, and then with the CDL, you make more money to opposed to a non-CDL.
Did you have any friends in the industry that would have drove you into getting the CDL part of it, or you like me when I'm in my 20s, I'm out there partying, ready to roll, right? My check gets cashed, I'm going out, we're gonna have a good time. Or did you have other friends that were like, you know what, you can make double the money than driving this forklift or unpacking these trailers, where you're like, you know what, maybe I'll go and just basically be your own boss, right?
Yes, I had friends and that were in the driving business, but they didn't. I mean, it was all about just like driving is a good thing for me because you get to see the open road and you're out and about and I liked it. I like driving. I like to get out and drive, and you see places that you never seen before, and that you never would have seen before.
Right.
Tony does it every Saturday when he's laying on his back. He sees places he's not used to seeing.
Well said. So, hey, John, one of the things we often talk about in this industry is what is it going to take to continue to get people interested in this industry? Since you've been in this a long time, wouldn't you think it would behoove you or behoove your other friends in this industry to take on younger drivers and kind of show them the ropes and to get them interested in a good career that's kind of helped you along through all these years? Is that something you've ever thought about?
Yes, I mean I see it every day. I see people coming into the trucking business, and I see that they're, the trucking business to me is probably one of the best businesses going in this world, because you have to move freight and you get. I've got a couple friends that I've got into it, and they just become even happier when you get your CDL. And you become a truck driver, you make more money. I mean, the sky's the limit out there in the trucking business.
So these guys you're training, John, are they younger or are they older trying to get into the industry, or is it
they're younger? You see a wide range of drivers. Can
you tell me when you say younger, what is younger? I mean, younger to a lot of us is different than what is younger. Like, are we talking 20 to 25?
In their mid-20s, they're mid-20s to the 30s. I mean, there's a lot of drivers coming into the business, and the young drivers. I mean, I've got a son that's just got his CDL.
Yeah.
And he's 30, and he went and, he watched me drive, and now he's 30 and he's got his CDL driver's license. And then my other son's got his CDL too. He's 33.
So is it in the blood, you think? Is it a blood thing? Because Tony B, right? Your dad was in it, right?
No.
My dad was a bus driver.
Okay.
Oh.
All right. So
back in the day.
His heart.
I mean, he
bless
was
his heart.
What's that?
I said, bless his heart. Being a bus driver, that's a job I'd never want.
Right.
Never. No way in hell.
Wow.
Yes, it is.
He was a
and
bus driver.
My brother was on the Indianapolis Fire Department, but you don't have to have a CDL to be on the fire department. I don't get that. But
to drive that truck,
you don't have to have a CDL to be on the fire department.
So John, what is your favorite part of the job?
What's my favorite part of driving?
Yeah.
Is I just like that. You get out there, you see the open road, you go to places that you never would have been to, and you're out there moving freight, helping people. I mean, turning people's lives around when you're moving the freight and taking care of freight from one stop to the next. Moving freight is my favorite thing about it. And I mean,
yeah, what has changed from the time you started till now in your mind?
The pay has changed, and the trucks have changed. The trucks have changed tremendously.
Has it gotten better?
You've got the DEF in your truck now, and you've got the more safety features on trucks, which is a very good thing. I mean, that's the big thing is you got more safety features and you got better trucks.
Hey,
I mean,
John,
every year the trucks get better.
Yeah.
Do you see a lot more automatics than manual? Do you still see younger kids struggling with the manual part of it?
I think that the automatics are dominating in this world now.
Are they really?
Back in the day, sticks were the only truck you had, but now it's automatic and that's
less accidents, I think, with automatics.
I mean, a lot of people, I got a lot of friends that don't like the automatics, that still want the sticks.
The old timers?
Old school.
Yeah, I mean, that is true. The old school. That's what they grew up on, though.
So yeah, go ahead, John.
No, that's what they grew up on, the sticks. And a lot of people don't want to drive an automatic.
So how much longer do you see yourself doing this, John? Do you have a time frame?
What's that?
How much longer do you see yourself driving? Do you have a time? Are you looking toward retirement? Is this something you're going to stick out for a little
I
while?
see myself retiring as a truck driver. Okay. I mean, I'm 60, and I see myself retiring as a truck driver. I see, the thing of it is I've swayed out of the trucking business, but I always came back to the trucking business because the simple fact is the money and the enjoyment of driving a truck is, and so I've came back every time I've came back. I've got out a couple times, but I've always came back.
Well, good.
So,
thank you again.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you. Again, you're listening to Ship's Gonna Happen show, and we got Johnny Dub on the phone. It's been a big part of success in the supply chain out there with his driving skills. So let me ask you this, John. You say you want to retire as a truck driver. What drives you to say that now? Because I'm sure when you were 22 years old, you were not saying I'm gonna retire as a truck driver.
No, I wouldn't have said that at 22. I didn't even know when I got into the trucking business. I didn't know what it was like. I didn't know that I would make a career out of it. And as the years went by, I started liking it. And just like I said, I went from, I got out of it, but I always went back to it because of the simple fact is it's just a different, for me, I mean, I'm sure it's different for a lot of people, the money, the job security, and especially being, you're your own boss out there, basically.
That's right.
You don't have to, you pick up a phone or, you got rules, but you're pretty much your own boss. You're on your own out there. And that's what I like about it.
So what's your least favorite part of the job?
Being gone, I mean, not having, I shouldn't say it like that. I should say, but my least favorite part of the job is that, trying to get everything accomplished in a certain amount of time because, the traffic is a big thing. The road construction and the weather is another thing. I'm driving.
And you're a trainer, right? So you train drivers, and you got somebody right now that's taking the CDL where you're at. And so, do you get satisfaction out of that, and you get more pay for that, right?
Yes, I get more pay for it, and I get a satisfactory out of that because the simple fact I see somebody better in their life, I think that they're, when you think, well, there's a guy coming into the business that I came into years ago, and this guy that I'm training right now is probably 50 years old.
Wow.
And he's just now becoming a CDL driver.
You may be training us soon.
Right.
At 50. And, so the age limit isn't really the factor out there. It's just, to me, that it isn't a factor. It's the factor is, getting in an opportunity. I mean, the trucking business right now is unbelievable. I mean, the sky's the limit in the trucking business because the simple fact is that you got opportunities. You've got multiple opportunities in the trucking business. You can go from a Class B to a Class A, from a non-CDL from a Class B to a Class A, and you can get hazmat. The more you get, the more you make. And it's
Tony's still trying to reapply for his just Yaris license right now.
Yard horse? Yeah.
No, Yaris. Yeah, he's trying to still learn how to back up his Yaris. Can I ask you this, John? Have you ever put a dude in there, like right now, that guy that's in there taking a CDL test on a Saturday morning? Have you ever thought to yourself, damn, I don't think he should be driving a truck? Have you ever got done with someone that said they just don't get it?
Well, yes. When you train people, you can pretty much tell if they're fit for the job or but there's a lot of people that you think that you shouldn't be in it, but then down the road you see them and they fooled you because they're in it and they're doing very good like anybody else. Sometimes you think, but then sometimes you think that people won't make it and they do. Sometimes you think people make it and they don't.
Do they ever call you? Do they ever call you after they get their CDL? Do they ever say, John, I need help with this? I'm not sure if this is first or second gear. Do they ever call you with stupid questions when you're like, dude, you have your CDL. I taught you what to do. Why can't you remember this?
Yes, they do. They do call me.
That's awesome. You got to feel good about that.
There's been guys call that want the think that they need more training. And I mean, and there's guys that call that ask questions, and that's the thing about it. I mean,
I'm gonna put it out there right now. John should get a stipend, or John, you should get a percentage of every hour they make because you train them. If they're safe for so many hours on a road, we should pay you as a taxpayer additional money because they have stayed accident free, which causes families not to lose people. Yeah. Because of what you've done. You've taken time out of your day. Yeah, you make a little bit more money, but realistically, you're putting your life on the line too, being in that passenger seat. Am I right?
Your responsibility's gone, though, right? At a certain point.
Yes. Okay, say that one more time. I'm sorry.
You're good. I'm just saying that if you're training somebody, you're putting your life out there. You're blessing them basically to go get their CDL. Like, I think the longer they stay accident free, you should get more of a bonus every time from the state, from the government, due to the fact that they're handling their rig safely all the time because of what you've taught them.
Yes, I do think that. I think that there's a lot of people that need some more training. And there's just like this guy here. I'm with the guy right now that just failed the pre-trip, so he doesn't get his driver's license today.
Yeah, but let's put it out there. The pre-trip is a bitch. I'm just going to put it out there. I shouldn't say it that way, but John, that pre-trip, man, they are so harsh on people. Folks don't know this, but a little tiny crack in your side mirror, if you don't point that out as a fault, because that's a ticket.
Right.
Am I wrong, John? That's a ticket. If you have a cracked mirror, your spotter could be cracked.
You're 100% right.
Yeah, but that's the company's responsibility, right? To take care of that when you pre-trip it.
It's the driver's responsibility.
He pre-trips it, and then he says it's got to be fixed before he goes out, right?
That's the whole thing, man. When you get into a truck, you're 100% responsible. You're 100% responsible for everything on that truck working, and it's because that's what a pre-trip is all about. That's where they beat
them up at.
What else is the big thing? Is it the brake lines? Is that still a big thing where they touch and you're not realizing they're touching? I mean, all right, give me your top 5 things that DOT inspection would go through that you think. What do they hit you on? Tire tread, brake lines?
Tires. They go through brakes. They go through your mirrors. They want to make sure you have a DOT physical and that your license are squared away.
So when you go back to the company and you tell them that stuff, what do?
What's that?
If you go through your pre-trip and you tell the company that your mirrors broke, your tires are bad, do they fix that right away, or what do they do?
They put it out of service. They're supposed to put it out legally put it out of service.
Do they do that all the time in your history?
Yeah, well, no, not all the time. I mean, you get some people that want. I mean, why would I lie to you? They want to move that freight,
right?
Yes. Well, here's a question though. So does the driver. Does the driver sometimes overlook some items that are illegal so that he can get paid or she can get paid moving that truck on the road so they can get their miles and not sit around and get paid by the hour?
Yes, but the thing of it is, and I'm not gonna lie to you. Have I drove illegal? Well, sure I have. I mean, but it's not. It all comes back to you if you're driving illegal, and that's the whole thing. I mean, if I went with a cracked mirror or a cracked windshield, yes, I have. So, but I didn't. That's on me. That's not on the company. Because I'm supposed to do a pre-trip.
So you do a thorough pre-trip. Let me ask you this, because this is a big responsibility for the company that I work for, and I think this is what we miss out. You talk about putting things out of service, and people don't understand that shuts that truck down. You load it all the way up. The guys spend hours loading it. It's sitting there. It's hot. It's got to roll, right? It's got to get down the line. Got to get that freight moved. I think a lot of people, and then next thing you know, that next driver comes in, does his pre-trip, or she does her pre-trip, and that trailer is out of service or needs to be fixed. Is that because we miss a lot of things on post-trip because we're ready to go?
Well, yes, that is a lot of things on the post-trip. And
so would you say the post-trip is as important as the pre-trip?
What's that?
Is the post-trip as important as the pre-trip to you?
On a pre-trip, you're responsible for the pre-trip, not the company. You're responsible for the pre-trip.
What about the post-trip though? You drove 600 miles from here to Kansas City, right out of Indy to Kansas City, 600 miles or whatever it is, maybe not quite 650. Do you think it's your responsibility when you arrive in Kansas City, as tired as you may be and everything you fought through to get there? Should you not be responsible for the post-trip to ensure that your trailer and tractor can now move with the next individual that's going to jump in there?
Yes, that's a big issue, is because a lot of people don't do post trips.
Correct.
And that's a big issue, because when you're done for the day, you want to go home. And
are you required to do it?
You have to take the time to do the post trip, to make sure for the next guy that's going to get in that truck, or the next morning you get in that truck, that you don't have to have no downtime of saying, okay, if I would have told him that the tire was flat last night, then I wouldn't be sitting here waiting for the tire to be fixed today, or
the
if there was a
placard
wire
falling off or something stupid, right? It's always something stupid when you jump in. Am I wrong?
Yeah, exactly. That's the whole thing about it. Then you get the mechanics that get angry, because they got to stop what they're doing and fix what you should have told last night, and they could have had it fixed, and you could have been on the road.
So, John, one of the things we talk about on this show is what to do to help alleviate the driver shortage. Would you, in your mind, if you were a salaried driver versus getting paid by the mile, would that be more of an incentive to get drivers into the industry?
Driving, yes, it would be, because driving by the hour is more better than driving on salary or mileage.
Boom, David B. John's got your back on the hour thing you've been talking about.
So one of the other reasons, John, one of the main reasons I bring that up also is for safety purposes. Where a driver is not necessarily trying to push themselves for that next mile and that extra dollar. But if you're getting salaried to drive this amount of hours a day, then you're still going to make that amount of pay instead of being pushed.
What'd you fail?
Pushed. Yes, yep.
John's interviewing a CDL person right now. Did he make it? Did he get it? I know he's not getting a CDL today because he messed up on a pre-trip. Did he get it?
Okay, say that one more time.
So going back to the getting a salaried driver job versus being paid by the mile. Another part of that is, John, as I think of it, as being a safety issue, where the driver's going to be more safe instead of pushing for that final mile or whatever. If they're salaried to drive this amount of hours a day, then that's what they're going to drive, and wherever they get to is wherever they get to.
I would. You definitely don't want to be on salary. That's the whole thing. You don't want to be on salary. You want to be. And if you're a line haul, you would like to be on mileage, but you don't want to be on the hour. If you're a city driver, you want to be on the hour, because the simple fact is you get paid from the time you leave to the time you get back.
Right. I got you.
And salary, yeah, that makes sense.
You don't want to be on the miles in the city, because you ain't going to get no miles in the city.
Right, but if you're a long haul truck driver and you're getting paid a salary,
if you're a line haul driver, you'd want to be on the miles, because you would get more because of the mileage you're driving.
Right. Okay.
So, John, last question from me. So, David touched on it a little bit. So, the Driver Safe Act is a part of that infrastructure deal, where they're going to be doing schools, putting, like when you and I were kids, we had to go to shop class and stuff like that. So the government's proposing that we do, we put these kids 18 years old in a driver tractor training program in high school. Do you think that'll help the industry attract more drivers?
Yes, I do think that. I think that it will help it tremendously.
Do you support that?
Do you support that?
Yes, I do support that.
Okay,
and Timmy D was asking, is that gentleman will you find out today he passed his test or not?
Well, say that again.
Will you find out the gentleman you took to take the CDL? Will you find out if he passed today or not?
Yes, it did.
He did?
No, he didn't pass the test.
Oh, he didn't. Okay.
No.
So what do we do there? Do we go back and you training for another week and we come back next Saturday and we have him reapply? How long does it take to reapply, and how many times can you reapply?
Yes, yeah, he has to come back and retest again.
Is that so he doesn't even get to the driving test part of it, or does he because he didn't pass the written test, or is
how
it
does that work?
Is it two different separate tests, and then if you pass one, you only got to do the other one? How does that work?
He's not in a good mood. He doesn't want to discuss it.
Gotcha. Okay.
Understood.
And I understand that.
So, John, do you probably need to let you go, and then we'll hit you up at the 10th Street Pub?
Yes, I would love to. I'd love to meet those other two guys.
Yeah,
too.
we're all three going to be here.
We're not too bad.
No.
What?
So we're not too bad, guys. We'll
You'd like
we'll
them.
hook up someday, definitely, John. It's very nice talking to you this
Am I
morning.
going to be able to meet them other two guys?
Absolutely.
Hey,
Yep.
John, is the 10th Street Pub is that your jam? Is that your go-to? Is the 10th Street Pub?
Yeah, when?
I know I'm asking. Is that where you go often?
Yes, that's where I kind of hang out at.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna put a beer in the well for you. I know the bartender up there. That's not a bad thing. That's probably a bad thing to say, but I know the bartender. I'm gonna put a beer in the well for you.
All right, put a word in for me.
Yeah,
I got you.
We'll all three meet with you, John. And any last thoughts about driving in this industry? And again, we appreciate what you do out there, and you're a very safe driver and a very
Did I do
efficient.
good?
Oh, I think you did great. You got any
Phenomenal.
final thoughts before we go? Any final thoughts from you?
All right. Well, what'd you say?
I said, do you have any final thoughts before we go?
Say it. I can't. I'm in a truck.
Yeah,
man.
okay. Well, any final thoughts from you before we go? Anything else you want to add before you go?
I would encourage people in getting into the trucking business, because the simple fact is that there's a good opportunity.
Yeah.
Well, the Ship's Gonna Happen show truly appreciate you, your fellow, your colleagues out there that really drive, believe it or not, drive the world. Literally drive the world, pun intended there. John, truly appreciate you taking time on a Saturday morning. Tell the rookie, we're wishing the best of him. Be patient. He'll get it. He'll make it happen. And he'll drive safe.
Thanks for being on the Ship's Gonna Happen show this morning, John.
Yes.
Much appreciated.
Hey, John, you have a great day, man, and I'll be in touch with
Hey,
you, okay?
man, I feel like I was on the JMB show.
Hey, they're almost old enough to start growing
You know what
hair.
I'm talking about?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we do.
Yep.
We do.
The
Are
drive
those other
with
two guys from
JMV.
Indianapolis too?
Yeah.
Yep.
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 It's David B. and Timmy D. Yep.
So let's hook up at the 10th Street Pub one
We
night.
will.
We will.
I'll hit you up on the phone, man.
It'll happen.
All right.
All right, call me.
All right, John. Thank you. Have a good day, brother.
All right, brother. Bye.
Appreciate you.
He
What a
is-
great
Good
interview.
call.
He is out.
Perfect.
All
That
right.
is
Interview.
absolutely perfect. Yep.
So, John Williams is off the air now, and we'll get into the topics. Are you guys ready?
Play a
Yeah,
little
let's-
Sunny D for us, man.
go.
Let's get back in the groove
Sunny
here,
D.
boy.
Sunny
It's good
D
to
is
hear from a
over.
Driver on
We got a-
Driver Appreciation Week. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah.
That was John was perfect.
So,
I'm gonna call up after the show. I'm calling to put him a beer in the well. I promise you that.
There we go.
there we go. Thanks, Timmy, for doing that.
Absolutely.
All right, we'll get into topic number 1. All right, we've discussed a lot about the economy, the prices of everything going up, so on and so forth. Right now, as we speak, the coast is growing with container ships off their coast. But first, think about this. I think we touched on this a little bit, and I was shocked to find this out. A container ship will hold between 10,000 and 21,000 containers.
Wow.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it is.
So just a few weeks ago,
You said thousands?
yes, yeah, because they have like the pups like we do, where the smaller ships, and then they have the larger one. Larger ones will hold 21,000. So that's a lot. It ends up being what comes in off the coast of Long Beach in LA ends up being about a third of what comes to us.
Doggy dog, shout out.
Yeah,
Could you imagine watching one of either of those being loaded or unloaded?
I've seen it before. Yeah, when I was out there. Yeah,
Yeah, awesome.
It's an amazing process, and it's
bet.
not a very delicate process. I think it's more delicate now that you just pick them up by magnets or by cranes and just drop them on the trailer, and it's pretty much a big bounce.
Wow.
But long.
That's how I pick up my women too. By
I
the
was
back.
gonna
Yeah,
say
yeah.
something. I thought, nah, I better not.
So it's about
Bounce per
what comes
ounce.
into LA in Long Beach is about a third of the U.S. imports. So today, as we sit, yeah, Tim, you're looking at me. It's about a third of our imports come through that area, Long Beach and LA, which I was kind of surprised by, but it does make sense. That's why there's a lot of shortages, right? So today, remember last time we talked about this, there was 36 container ships in Long Beach sitting out in LA.
Yep. Was it 2 weeks or last week, maybe even? It was 2 weeks ago.
Was it 2 weeks ago?
Whenever it was, yeah.
Today, there's 56.
Wow.
So it's getting worse.
Because of the holiday stuff.
Well, it's
Part
because
of
of
it.
weather, and it's because of coronavirus hitting the ports in China, in Taiwan, and then they had a weather issue that shut it down. So they're getting behind again. Here's a quick list of some items and some issues that's happening. So the food producers are struggling with shortage, bottlenecks, transportation, weather, and labor woes that we've all talked about, which
They're
rise
lacking on the McFlurries.
Yep, which all raised the prices, right? So in August, the inflation for the wholesale industry rose at 8.3%. That's the highest number since it's been ever tracked. The prices are passed on to us, right? So we're seeing that.
Yeah. So to add to your story, this week was the highest. The average per mile move in the United States now is up at $2.50 per mile.
I saw that.
That is the highest it's ever been.
Yeah.
So going along with your story, that reflects in the transportation world, this is the highest it's been.
I got to chime in here because if it went from 36 to 56 in a week, that tells me things are being produced, but the supply channel cannot handle the volume coming in that as production ramps up, I guess is what I'm saying. As production ramps up and more containers come over, the supply chain still is not available to handle that. It wasn't available to handle it a week ago. And now we're almost doubled what's out there.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't there a week ago and we've doubled what is trying to be consumed or predicted to be consumed here in quarter four, as we talked about almost a month ago, pre-ordered your Christmas, right?
You got to
Get
do it
everything,
now.
Do it all now, as we've spoke upon, right?
Yeah.
And now we've doubled that. That's just gonna put more headache out there. And I love me some Snoop Dogg. Snoop Dogg's my jam, but
he needs to buy some container ships.
No, he needs to find some people to unload him container
and
ships.
unload them.
Yep, and haul them out of there.
So obviously this is passed on to all of us, right? So if you got a pay raise between 1% and 5%, it got wiped out. It's gone.
Got to pay what?
If you did get a pay raise of 1% to 5% this year,
overworked,
it's gone, right? So the fish and poultry meat industry is up 14% since the pandemic. Cisco Foods announced they're going to pass on a 10% increase due to their cost rising. So all the people they supply for are going to increase their costs too, right? So 80% of all traded goods come on a container. The average cost of a container 2 years ago was $1,400 to get a container. Today, they get up as much as $14,000 per container.
Stop it.
Yeah.
Tenfold.
This is all U.S. Department of Labor, Kansas City Bank. All this research I did was from CNN, MSNBC, Fox Business Channel, U.S. Department of Agriculture and Labor, and the banks that track it. So pretty legit information. The packaging products, which I was surprised were in short too, pallets. Pallets.
Well, we talked about the other week about you can't get a bottle of beer at a bar.
Glass.
At our number one sponsor, The Great Divide. Why are you bringing in all cans? And why can't I get that in a long neck? Because they don't have the glass to do it. They don't have the pallets. They don't have the cardboard to package it. So a lot of people don't understand if I don't.
No, jump in, brother.
Is those containers, I would probably venture to say, and I don't know, I've never seen it, I've never unloaded one, but I would tell you guys 90%, minimum 90% of what comes on a container ship or a rail car per se, or that box thing that you see people building houses out of now, 90% of that is floor loaded. It's all just put in there like a parcel. And then they go to a warehouse, typically is what happened, and then they undo those, and then they separate it, and they break it down into pallets. And then from those pallets, or they break it down to POs, and then those are separated to be sizable pallets, that you can wrap and move, and
Yep.
those go out to your warehouses. We talk about these third-party logistics companies and things. So those are shipping out LTL and or truckload to these guys, and they go up on the racks. And then when you order off Amazon, what they do is they take that pallet. Let's say it had 60 cartons on it, and you order one thing, it's going to have one less item, right? And you're not
Yep.
the only one ordering that. So let's say they pull 30 off of that, then that goes back on the shelf. So they're picking and packing at that point. But if they don't have things to store, how can I say it? To reconfigure said loose
Right.
cartons into pallet size things that can get to the warehouse and get to you the next day because they're already there when you order. So when you order from Amazon, you may order from a company that's out in Long Beach, but it's really coming from a Whitestown, Indiana, because it's already been broke down out of that container ship that's on
Consolidated,
the
yep.
And so they don't have that cardboard to do
Right.
it.
You can't do it.
And think about, I don't know, think about 3 years ago, everything you got out of Amazon had an Amazon box.
Yep.
Had the little smiley face, and that's what you got.
Right.
Now you get it basically in a raw cardboard that's coming straight from the, I wouldn't say manufacturer, but the people that actually order, because they don't have time to hit the Amazon warehouse.
Right.
And probably to your point is they don't have the new packaging from Amazon to put it back in their carton.
Yeah, that's a good point, because you hit right on that packaging piece. The plastic you mentioned, Timmy D, is a lot of that's made in Texas. And then remember when Texas had the power outage?
Yes.
It was shut down for all that time. That's why.
Their solar power and everything else took out their grid.
That's why. They didn't make any plastic. They didn't have any glass.
And that 6-week cycle that they miss is enough to affect America for months.
Yeah. For months, yeah.
Well into next year, probably.
Well, thank you for bringing that up.
Boom, coming in the next.
Wells Fargo predicts that this is not going to ease. Remember, it was all like it's going to ease by the fall at first, then it's going to ease by the spring of 2022. Now they're saying this is going to go well into 2022, according to Wells Fargo, that tracks it. That's saying if we get out of this pandemic mode. So what I did was I found out there's two. You got something?
No.
There's two reasons for inflation that you hear a lot about in the news. There's something called demand pull inflation, which is the common cause of why the prices are rising right now. It occurs when consumer demands for goods and services increase so much that it outstrips the supply. Essentially, they can't produce enough to meet the demand and prices are rising. That's kind of currently what we're in. But if you touch on the food industry, what they're going through is a cost pull inflation, which occurs when there is a supply shortage combined with the demand to raise prices. So monopolies are the ones that control that, and the prices rise due to their control of the goods. An example of that is the cattle market. And I didn't know this. The cattle and pork market is dominated by 4 companies. 4 companies. So they can pretty much...
They own all the moves
Yeah.
out there.
So I was thinking we all need to get some, they have Shetland ponies. Mm-hmm. We get Shetland cattle in our backyard.
Can we race them? I'll bet on that.
Yeah.
I'll bet all over that.
And just fatten them up.
Right.
But that's pretty much...
Speaking of fattening.
That's pretty much the topic there. So there's a lot of things going on. And like Timmy mentioned
So it's just
earlier,
not the goods. You're saying
It's food, everything.
It's the packaging and
Yes.
the lack of labor to move that to an individual
Yeah.
consumer.
Yep.
It's just not the product itself being short.
Right.
It's everything leading up to it.
Yep. And then when you get the monopolies in control of it, they can pretty much set the demand on what they want.
Place.
Yeah. Park Place. There you go. Boardwalk. So like Timmy D mentioned earlier, and I think we've mentioned it before, man, if you're really, really thinking about Christmas, you need to be thinking about getting your products now, because if you notice, your Amazon stuff's not always coming next day now. It's dragging a little bit, and the baking goods all come from overseas. So that affects the food chain a
There
little
goes
bit.
my cake business.
There
There you go.
Yep.
Happy Tim Cakes.
Dang it. Yeah.
What would you name
Timmy's
that?
Cakes.
Timmy Cakes.
Timmy's Cakes.
Timmy's butt cakes.
Yeah.
So moist, you will always come back.
Yeah.
Moist.
Always
Worst word in
moist.
the English language, by the way.
Yeah. But that's mine. Guys, you got anything else to add to that? Or
I kind of interrupt you all the way through it because it just... I hate to interrupt you guys. I don't do it often on the show. But
it's accepted.
It blows my mind because you guys do your homework, and shame on me, I probably don't do mine as well as I should. And that blows my mind. It's not necessarily, as we talked about, the lack of goods or the lack of production now. It's there, but we can't even repackage it once it's from China to go into its own package to get to your house or to the stores or to the Cisco Foods out there to get on their trucks to go deliver so you can sit down at a restaurant and have I tell you right now, I think, and I eat out a lot, as you guys can probably tell. I'm a pretty big dude, and I eat out often, and there's a lot of times I'm like, well, do you have this? I went to a local place here probably 2 weeks ago, and I won't go back because I'm like, do you guys have this? Nope. Do you have this? Do you have this? I try to order 5 different items, and this is no bull crap. 5 different items. Nope, we're out of that. And it wasn't like it was 9:30 at night and we're done making that. Mm-hmm. We don't have that anymore. It's pretty simple stuff. It's no, we're out. And I'm like, okay. And I literally handed the menu, and Lindsay's bed. She's like, oh my gosh. I handed her the menu, and I said, hey, can you tell me what you do have? Let's start there. Yeah. Because you have this menu, and so this menu used to be a 3 fold out 3 ways, and on the back and everything else. They've consolidated the menu to one page. Flip here, flip there. Yeah. You just turn it over. It's an 8x11 sheet now versus an 18 by 11 and 2 sides on that. And it's already consolidated, and then you're out of half of what you already have.
Yeah, I sure wish that she would have said "Ship's gonna happen, sir," and just handed you.
You should have.
You know what, sir? Ship's gonna happen.
She said it last night. If I may go on a rant real quick, we talked about the goods. To your point. Talked about the goods. We had probably 12 people over last night. Not a super spreader. Everyone's good. And
super spreader.
And so they're talking about, well, did you guys hear on the local news? They were talking about you better start ordering your stuff, and then you're going to just be stuck with whatever Halloween costumes. They go, well, if you guys are listening to the Ship's Gonna Happen podcast, we talked about this a month ago.
You'd already know.
Almost 6 weeks ago.
There you go.
So Lindsay's like, yeah. Because I was like, oh my gosh, you're right. I better start Christmas shopping. I go, if you would have listened to Ship's Gonna Happen podcast, you would have known that.
You'd have known about that.
And they're like, oh my gosh. And then I'm like, boom. So I pulled up the episode real quick. They're like, you got to be kidding me. I'm like, yeah, we're on top of this. So we're the number 1 podcast in America.
So Tim, you got a lot of young kids. Have you done any of that yet for Christmas shopping or?
We push Christmas off to March. Come on, man.
Yeah. You do the after Christmas because the prices go down.
You know what I really want to do with the new baby I got? I really want to get back to the fundamentals. And that's one thing I appreciated her is I grew up, and that was like my parents' way to spoil us. That's the only thing they had, right? They saved all year long, and Christmas was it. And when I met her children, it didn't matter. Like, she would literally go out and spend $120, and that was it. And they were appreciative of everything they got. Mm-hmm. And they thought it was the greatest thing ever. When, like me, I'm one like, why is this Christmas tree not all the way out into the middle of the front room, right? That's what I grew up with. And this nickel diamond bull crap. But that's what my parents cared about because us as children wanted all that materialistic touch.
Yeah.
She was more about, okay, what do you really want? And so I think we should go back to something you read, something you want, something you read, something you need.
There you go.
You get 3 items for Christmas because it's not about the gifts. And that's tough training a child that.
Yeah.
But if you start that at an early age and really know that you pretty much get anything you want anyways. So you get 3 items to pick from and that's it.
Yeah.
That's what it's about.
There you go.
Yeah. I'm thinking just cash might be the answer this year. Here's your money you buy and you deal with the
been that way with us for quite
logistics a while. Chain here.
Correct.
Right?
I tried to order this for 6 months and guess what? Here you go. Here. This is what it costs. Go figure it out yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thanks, guys, for jumping in on that topic. I appreciate it. It's a good topic, I think. And Timmy D, you want to go next, or David B, you want to go next?
Either way, I don't care.
Go to David B.
David B, let's get into it.
So like Tim mentioned earlier, he's not good on doing his homework. I waited until Saturday morning to do mine.
Just a few hours ago.
Yeah, exactly. I got to sleep in until 4 this morning, which was a treat for me. So,
and these guys are lying. They always do their homework.
So, and then just Tracy so you know. Give you a little nudge. Just said, David B, time to get up. Yeah. Mama's ready.
Did you get that this morning?
No. Because the snoring from the other, absolutely no.
Blanks. Got blanks. Right. Shooting blanks.
Yep. So anyway, I sent a topic earlier in the week about what the vaccine mandate might mean to the trucking industry. And of course, since that time, 2 articles have come out to kind of clarify it a little bit. So I'll just touch on both of these briefly. The American Trucking Association and the Truckload Carriers Association do not support the vaccine mandate. Couple of the reasons are the mandate may cause a mass exodus of drivers in an already shortened.
I'll drink that.
When the drivers are already that far behind, or that shortage of drivers, they just don't want to. And they don't need any more going out of
they want any more
industry.
Obstacles.
Yep, and
that would
also,
be big, man.
And then also that it might cause a 2-tier driving companies in the industry. Those
Right.
with have 100 drivers or less that try to maintain the 100 drivers or less, so they don't have to get vaccinated, and those that have the mass, have the bigger companies that mandate their drivers getting it. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk on a little bit, and kind of get both of your perspectives on this. Since you both work for fairly big trucking companies, do you guys see your companies following through with this? And one of the reasons I ask is one of the carriers earlier this week was like, we have so many people off due to COVID. Is that the way we're going to keep going now? That we can't get to you because of COVID? And if it is that way, I'm fine with it being that way. But don't wait till 4:00 in the afternoon to tell me.
Right. Our position has been they're going to wait to see what legally happens on the challenges with the White House. Our company does not believe in forcing people to have a vaccine. So they're going to wait to see how it's legally works itself out. But in saying that, our company did say we recommend you get it if because we've lost a driver last week in Columbus due to it.
So even if the government mandate doesn't stick, does your company still? So your company still is trying to encourage your employees.
Yeah, they're saying
to get it.
Because we've had drivers die. We've had several drivers die from it.
Sorry to hear that.
Did they die from the COVID, or did they die from other reasons, and the COVID put them back?
Could be that, but it was listed medically as COVID, so that sends the alarm bells. Yeah,
absolutely.
So that's been the message, and basically, if you're going to go out, do what the company wants you to do that you're calling on. If they want you to put a mask on is what they're saying, but they're not restricting us. So
and I'm going to spin this a little bit because that's what I do. I'm political. No, I'm not. But so to your point, I would tell you as a driver, adhere to whatever the customer you're seeing's policy.
Right.
Whether that's stay inside the truck, no touch, you don't go anywhere, you back in, they unload your stuff, you hand it through a window, you walk up, you set in a basket, they ask you to wear a mask, wear your damn mask, because that's what they require, and your job is to go ahead and release the freight to them. And so you adhere to them. Just like if you go to somewhere like a food warehouse, like a sort and seg gate, type of joint, you got to have steel-toed boots. You got to have a hard helmet if you go to a construction site. You got to have a vest on, which I think the vests are great. But I kind of want to spin this the other way, because I'm going to ask you a question, David B. Because personally, which I know we don't try to get into that personal and all this stuff, but Delta Airlines announced if you don't have the vaccine, as in if you don't prove to me that you had the vaccine, and I encourage everyone that chooses to get the vaccine to go get the vaccine. I told my parents, you're too old. Go get the damn vaccine. Let's not have a question. Go get it. It's safe enough. Go get it. If you turn into a zombie, you turn into a damn zombie, but let's go do that to ensure. My mom, she smokes almost 2 packs a freaking day, and she drinks 12 Cokes. And that's not an exaggeration. That's literally what she does.
We still love you, Mom.
She wakes up and smokes cigarettes overnight. And I love my mother.
She needs to get it.
But and so she's gone and got it and whatever, and now she's like, oh, yeah, let me give you a hug. Yeah. That's fantastic, right? I'm young. I don't feel like I need it. That's a personal decision. I feel like I can fight the virus.
Right. Yeah.
But Delta, my point of this is Delta Airlines has come out and said, if you don't have the vaccine, we're going to charge you $200 more a year on our projection that's what it's going to cost us to put you in the hospital. Right. Okay, so why are they not saying the same? That's an underlying condition, in my opinion. Why are they not saying, okay, I'm going to charge you $200 more a year if you have diabetes, because I know my insurance that I'm going to have to cover has to go up. Why has that lawsuit from the airline people not come up to say, you're going to charge me a premium for this, what could happen, but yet you're going to go ahead, because the law states you cannot accept them as a underlying condition. Why aren't those okay? You can accept them, but charge them a premium.
It's a great point.
So let's not get all the way into that. And I could go on.
That's
for
a great
hours.
point,
I've
dude,
done a lot of
because-
stuff on this, but I'm just saying that
The lawsuits are coming.
How can you charge someone a premium for not? So you might as well do it with the flu vaccine at that point, right? The flu vaccine has kills almost, I think, about 100,000 people a year that no one even knows. Maybe I think it's 200,000. Again, don't do my homework, but it's somewhere in that neighborhood. So if you don't get the flu vaccine, should you be charged a premium? Or do you choose to work for a company that you pay an insurance like everyone else? And as an insurance company, we've talked about insurance, you take the whole business and the amount of people and the average cost that it costs you as an insurance, and that's your premiums, and that's how all this works. So that's part of it now. Now the insurance companies need to go back to said companies, say, okay, I'm going to raise your stuff to X, Y, and Z. And the kicker is the government's paying for all that anyways.
Right.
If it comes down as COVID, the government actually pays the hospital a premium for treating someone with COVID.
You're right. And
they step in on top of the insurance payment and your insurance payment. So to your point, the vaccine, these truck drivers have worked through this without it, just like the medical workers have worked through without it. Now, why are we penalizing them for them saying, I don't need it, I worked through this, I've been here for your butt? Why are we penalizing on an industry that has already been there?
I think it's going to sort itself out, Timmy D, because that's a great point. And I think you got Arizona.
You got my blood pressure rolling on a Saturday damn morning.
But I want you to understand is I'm not advocating for anybody to get a vaccine.
Right.
What I'm advocating is
I think they should.
Right.
Some people
What
should.
I'm advocating is if carriers or companies continue to use, and I'm not saying it's an excuse, but continue to say, hey, we couldn't get to you today because of the COVID. We had too many people out with COVID
to let
or whatever.
you know earlier enough.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
But again, if this is what things are going to be from now on, say something early in the day.
Yeah.
Don't wait till 4 p.m.
Let me spin it to you. Has your company said that your carriers must show up and have a vaccine?
No.
Have they thought about it? Has that been in talks?
No.
Mm-hmm. So,
because it could be spun that way, right? You're not coming in this warehouse without a vaccine,
right? And you're
they're
right.
going to limit their choices on carriers.
You're exactly right. You're 100%.
To go back to what you were saying about the legalities of that a little bit, what you touched on there, you have Arizona that launched a lawsuit against the federal government for the vaccines mandates. So you have 26 states that are piled onto this lawsuit. So I think when that legally gets into the system and gets challenged, I think the government's gonna lose on the vaccine mandate.
And once again, it's a mandate, not a law.
Right. Exactly. Yep. And then that'll fall into get everybody out of it. If you have diabetes, you're going to pay higher. You're right. Because if it goes that way where it's a mandate, then I think people are going to attach that to all medical ailments, and because how could you not, right? So you really wonder, why are you forcing the damn vaccines? Because here's the thing that I question. I go, so you want me to take a vaccine that I'm not, in my age group, I'm 99.6% likely to not die from it, on a vaccine that's like only 92% effective, right?
Well, here's why they're going to tell you this. Now, I'm going to speak devil's advocate, because they don't want you tying up hospital beds for the other people that need those hospital beds. That's what it is.
Are they tied up, though? There's some rumors saying they're not. I was at Hancock County with Jacob on Thursday to do his post-surgery stuff that he had. And I asked them, because rumor was they were packed with COVID. So I went around and asked some questions, asked the doctor that we had seen. No, they're not. So I don't know why this is getting reported.
Where we live at is kind of been hurt. So the little town we live in is kind of, in that county, is kind of outside the first probably 4 months of 2020.
Yeah, but they said it was packed.
No, but what I'm saying is it's been herd immunity where everyone kind of has gotten it and moved on with life.
So
they said it was packed.
The hospital Tracy works at this. I'm always trying to. My big 4-day weekend I want every year is Thanksgiving holiday.
Yeah.
I want to go.
I
want to
cut
do
grass
something
on the weekend too.
Yes, that too.
But naked.
And so, jeez. So I'm like, you need to put your time in for Thanksgiving. And she goes, I don't know that it's going to happen because I see it going down a bad path of just being.
So is her hospital?
It's strictly COVID only now.
Yeah.
Thursday of this week.
Wow.
And again, packed. I don't know if packed is the right word, but it's full. So
Yeah.
And I
she
still get
can't a
frustrated.
time
Those
off.
like, well, you can't get your lip enlargement because we're going to need that bed
Yeah.
for the COVID. Okay,
Yeah.
well,
But the fat
guess
needs to
what?
come out of my
you should be
ass.
trying to get your damn lip enlarged anyway.
There-
But if
hey.
you suck the fat out of my ass and put it in my lips, then it's okay.
Yeah, there was a dude who died waiting to get a
All
gallstone.
over that. I'm not
There was a dude who died waiting to get a gallstone removed because of the COVID issue. The hospital wouldn't take him in, and he waited outside the hospital, and his family's suing. He had a gallstone in somewhere in his body, and he was in routine surgery. They can get that done pretty quick. So he was in Texas, so the hospital refused to see him because that particular hospital had COVID, and they said he didn't have the COVID vaccine, so they didn't accept him. So now there's a lawsuit launched on that. So,
And I don't understand how do the unvaccinated. I would like someone to really explain to me how do the unvaccinated hurt the vaccinated if the vaccine works.
well, if you look at Israel stats, Tim, to answer your question, Israel per population is the most vaccinated country in the world, and they are having an explosion of COVID, and they can't figure out why.
Because the vaccine,
Well, just like
targets one protein.
people that get the flu vaccine get the flu too.
Right, they're
So-
passing it around.
It just
I'm not-
minimizes your which
Likely
is
of
fine,
death.
Well, not likely of death, but it minimizes your symptoms, and that's great. Like the man flu is the worst thing out there. I wish they'd come up with a vaccine for the man flu. I'd be the first one in line. I had the man flu a couple of weeks ago. It's
Yeah.
horrible.
Well, Moderna is going to combine them all in the late in the fall here and
So they're going
inject
to
you
take the
with.
syringe that you get
Yeah.
about that much juice. They're going to go like that. It's going to be the worst.
I think so. They're saying it's going to have
It's
the
like the Orchid Man that comes and sprays for all the bugs around
right.
your house.
It's got everything in it, so it's got the flu and the COVID.
So you're listening to the Ship's Gonna Happen show, and my topic was not meant to get anybody all worked up.
Oh,
The topic
God, we're fighting mad.
My topic was just to see how, what companies, especially big companies like the two of you work for, what they were going to do about.
My
What's
company's
yours,
been-
Tim? You
My,
didn't
my
get
company's
Tim's.
been hush hush.
Yeah.
Okay,
I just
yeah.
put it there. They encourage you to
That's
get
fine.
it. It's been hush hush.
So same thing. Yeah.
Just leave it there.
All
Good
right.
enough. Good enough.
We're going to move on. We're going to get Timmy D, Supply Chain 101. Let's get into it.
So, getting to listen to the Ship's Gonna Happen show, and I think a lot of times we miss what target artists are we going after? Obviously, the drivers and what they go through every day, and then what the logistics people go through, and what is supply chain? What is supply chain? And a lot of questions is supply chain logistics? Is logistics supply chain? Are they interchangeable? What is it of this $90 billion industry that we're in? What is it? So to break it kind of down and kind of get your guys' thoughts and see what you think the difference is. You know what? I'm just going to start there. I'm not even going to go into it. What is the difference in your mind? We're going to start with you, David B., between logistics and supply chain.
Oh.
In your opinion, is there a difference, or are they all one and the same?
My opinion, it's one and the same. Logistics and supply chain are the same. You can't have one without the other. You gotta,
without the other.
yeah, you gotta. I mean, trucks to move it. Logistics, and then the supply chain, people to load, people to be involved, people to stock and.
But
do all
what's the difference
groundwork.
between? You're saying it's all the same. So if I say logistics, you think supply chain. If I say supply
Yeah.
chain, you think logistics.
Yep.
So you think logistics, Tim and I, what we do, our companies would fall into the logistics and the supply chain too,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
What do you think, Tony B? Do you think there's a difference?
I think there's a little bit of a difference.
Okay.
Yeah, I
do you
do. I think logistics is.
So if I ask
to
you,
me,
what do you do for a living? Would you say logistics or would you say supply chain?
I would say a little bit of both. But,
He's a hybrid.
I like it.
I think a little bit of both because of what the wings of what we can do inside the company takes us outside the normal mode of the supply chain. But I think what you and I do fit into both. But when I think logistics, for whatever reason, I think of more logistically moving equipment around and having the logistics to fulfill the supply chain, which the supply chains are the goods, right? So that's kind of how I think about it. And I could be wrong.
No, I think you're kind of, well, go to the dark side here. Even the cartel has a supply chain.
There we go.
But you got to logistically be able to.
Your family parties for Christmas have a logistics to it. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
There's logistics to it. I think it's kind of one and the same. I agree with both of you. They do separate. So I the supply chain itself includes logistics, but logistics to me is more of a David B on producing and how do I move it. That's his logistics. The supply chain brings that into it, but it makes it full circle. So supply chain, there's they call it SCM, supply chain management. There's degrees out there now. Okay. Degrees way above me, a lot hotter than me. But they didn't have that when we were talking to John Dove earlier. Like, he didn't have that. He even said that. Like, I don't know. I just decided, you didn't even need a CDL to drive.
Back
you didn't
in the day,
need
yeah.
it. Right? And I don't know what Johnny Dove's history is or how old he is, but they didn't have a CDL. So when you talk about getting the younger crew involved and whatnot, I think the supply chain itself has developed so much bigger than it was that we've so there's logistics degrees out there where you've got a David B that come in and it's like, how can I get my product to the consumer? That's the logistics side of it, right? And the logistics also goes kind of behind that as how do I get my goods in? How do I produce it? How do I ship it out? How do people order? That's the logistics side. So supply chain is just a little bit bigger than that because it goes to the supplier of the stuff you're ordering, to the consumer / producer to develop that. And then it's even more than that. Then I take that and how do I get it down to the size I want it to move on what I got and to get to where it's at. So you've heard our president say, the supply chain is just backed up. Is it the supply chain is backed up or is it the logistics? And so I think we work in more of a logistics type of piece to we're moving it from point A to point B. That's the logistics of it.
Is it both? Can it be both?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But the supply chain's a bigger part of that. So I think we're more, so logistics could be, you already have the raw product and you got to move it. That's the logistics part. How do I get it stationed like an Amazon that you can get it next day within the nation? That's logistics. Supply chain is actually from those container ships or from the ordering from where it is to here to move it and continue to repackage and resize it for the consumer to finally use. And without it, no one in America, no one in the world, to include drug dealers, as I said, can never have anything. Anything you look at, your beautiful lawn, it wouldn't look like that without grass seed, right? It wouldn't look like that without water. So the water company has a supply chain. And for them to get you water into this house, when they built it, they brought it all in, right? So that is the supply chain that's a full, from cradle to grave, as I like to say. And the logistics is kind of the meat and potatoes of that supply chain. That's how I look at it.
What are your companies doing to alleviate the supply chain, to alleviate this backup? Are they doing anything? Is there anything that can be done with how busy everything is? Or is this just the way things are going to be for a while?
And I think the supply chain has a lot to do with that. The supply chain management, as I was reading up on it, kind of, that's what is, we talked about automating things. And then you got people come in and say, listen, David B., I see you've got all this, you're using all this and doing this. We're going to come in and streamline that. So how do I make it more efficient for you to make your logistics side better, right? So you've got your sales reps, you've got the CEO, you've got the VP of sales.
You got a CLO also.
You got a CLO, right? That's true. That's Chief Logistics Officer, in case you guys are wondering. Boom, boom, boom. But so I think the logistics is the meat and potatoes of the supply chain. So we talk about the supply chain is broken. I don't think the supply chain itself in a whole is broken because you're running out of packaging material. You have people that's not producing enough, or your lead times get bigger. But the logistics piece of it inside of that supply chain, I think, and that's what I think what we do, it is actually not broken.
Right.
It's not. Now, is it behind, and are we struggling to get people into the workforce to do what we do? Yes. But I think it's the supply chain itself is broken. So let's talk about the vaccines, right? Someone's got to create it, so that slows you down. Then they got to move it. They got to move it at this said temperature that's ridiculous.
Right.
Someone's got to deliver it. Someone's got to then grab it out. Someone's got to administer it. Plus, you got to have the people willing to come in and get their arm with the needle. So that's the supply chain of it. But the logistics part of it was after it was produced, to the end user that's actually going to give it to you. So it's narrowed down on the logistics side than it is the supply chain. So when people talk about, well, gosh dang, it's messed up. No, the logistics side of it's not messed up. I think it's pretty streamlined. It's the whole supply chain from cradle to grave that we're missing. And that when I hear them talk about it, I'm like, well, that ain't me. We're not broken. We can move it. We can do this. I really think the logistics side is held strong through all this.
Very strong.
But the supply chain in a whole, because of the producing to the end user, is broken.
Yeah.
And the logistics side in the middle is not the meat and potatoes.
I think for us, it's been, we've tried to get equipment, right? We've hired drivers. The problem is we ordered something like 4,000 trailers, and I think we only got like 600 because you just can't get them. You can't get the metal.
The supply chain is messed up from the producing
The
part
producers
of it.
can't produce the metal because they can't get the metal. So, and there were some things shifted around before all this really hit.
Going back to Timmy's point earlier about like going to a restaurant and they only had so many things on the menu, like with chicken wings, there's a big shortage of chicken wings. Is because you can't because they can't get the laborers in, the people to go in.
The biggest
and work.
problem.
That's a
To
big part of
give you the food, you think?
supply
Or do
chain.
the chickens themselves continue to reproduce, and we continue to feed them, right? There's plenty of chickens in Purdue chicken, right?
I think it's to piece out the chickens, like wing here, leg there, thigh over here, breast in this, whatever.
They can't get the plastic to put it in, right? And then you got like I said, you got
refrigerant, you name it.
Four companies controlling it.
Exactly.
So they've raised the price on it.
Tastes like chicken.
So yeah, mine's pretty short and quick. I just want to get your feel on. So supply chain 101. I feel like the rest of this year I'm going to kind of hit on a topic within that supply chain. I just wanted to figure out: do you think you're in a logistics industry, or do you think you're in a supply chain industry?
Yeah,
because they're one and the same, but they're also different items. And I think it's very interesting as you drive down the road. You're like, well, how's that truck in front of me? Well, tires had to be produced. Tires had to be shipped. Rims. If you go in your house, it's like, how did I get my Swiffer? Like, how was that produced? This plastic had to be molded. Well, where did that mold come from? It came from this. So everything that anybody uses in everyday life, whether you're in computer, IT type of stuff, or if you're in landscaping, or if you're in the food industry, any job without the supply chain / logistics side of the house, we would have absolutely nothing. And this goes back to the Indians and the Pilgrims, to where one group had some plants. They learned how to use the land and how to till it up and plant this. And one person realized how to make a gun and or a bow and arrow and or a knife and how to go out and get food. And then they came together, and it just continues to grow. Yeah. And I think the funniest point is, the best supply chain out there is the cartel.
They always get theirs, don't they?
That's my but you got to be smart to know how to run a supply chain / logistics and how to get it from point A to point B and get it to your consumer. Yeah. And it starts with, you got to figure out what the demand is from the human. What does everyone want? What does everyone need? And what can I do to produce it that no one else will? And how do I get it from there?
Exactly.
So I just thought it was interesting that, believe it or not, everything we do has logistics, from a Christmas party and the logistics of figuring that out to the Facebook, here's our party and all that. That's logistics. It is. Yep. People don't know this, but they use logistics every freaking day in their life. Yep. And that's driven from the supply chain on what you can have at said logistics party.
Boom.
Yep. Well said.
So it is time
for them stocks
to get. We weren't going to get into that today. It was actually. Yeah, we can't do that. I was going to put that.
Again, you listen to Shipsgonnahappen show on a Saturday morning.
Happy Saturday, September.
Tony's going to take his scissors in, cut every blade of grass.
2021. Right. All right. So, David, I think you've got some random thoughts with David B. Here we go. He's going to kick us off.
All right. So this week, you guys know that earlier this week, I did some jury duty. So this is the first time I'd ever been selected for the jury pool.
You didn't laugh at my comment about the murder case.
Right. Yeah. No, yeah, I guess. So anyway, I didn't really want to do this, but I'm like, all right, it's my civil duty.
It won't get you in trouble talking about it, will it?
No, the case is closed. It's public record. One, I'm not going to.
Guilty.
Yeah. Well, this was a in favor. This was a civil suit. It wasn't criminal, so it would either be
Did Tracy win?
And the defendant or the plaintiff. Yeah, exactly. So that'll be next.
Yeah.
So we go in there, and there's 24 of us, prospective jurors. And the judge asks each of us questions as a whole, and nobody answered any of the questions that they negatively or if they had issue with what he was saying. So then he handed the microphone out and went to each individual juror and asked these two questions of every juror. Good morning, how are you today? And I am the only juror. I was juror 11. That when it came to me and asked me how I was today, I'm the only juror that had the sense enough to say, good morning, Your Honor. Nobody called the judge Your Honor other than me. How are we?
So you're going to be coming back to more cases.
So my point being is where we are with manners nowadays, that people aren't smart enough to address a judge as Your Honor, or at least Sir.
Where did Your Honor come from? Why do I have to call him Your Honor? I elected him.
Yeah.
Should I call him my bitch?
I
elected you. You're my bitch.
If you're in judge, if you're just to me,
just saying.
I just think it's respectfully. I just think respectfully that it should. Why do we have this twice in the middle of nowhere? Where does this come from twice in the middle of nowhere?
It is random thoughts. You get random. All right. So Your Honor, where's the manners? Is that the question?
That was just.
I'm
just kind of pinpointing. There's not a question. I'm giving you just the random thoughts about my jury.
Last time I sat in front of a judge, Your Honor.
Yes. So, and then the next one was, and most people answered that question like, good morning. Like,
what did they say? They just said,
just like, good morning. That was it.
Yo, man, what's up?
And then I just thought it was weird. And then, so the next question was, do you have an issue with being here today? And everybody was like, no, I'm fine or whatever. And I'm the only one that said, I'm just here to possibly do my civic duty or whatever.
Nice.
It just seemed weird.
Were you older than most or younger or what?
I was probably the average age.
Okay.
So
92.
And then I got selected. So
you got selected?
I did. I had to serve the whole 3.
Give me the juice. Come on.
The whole 3 days. So what it was, and I can talk about it. I'm not going to mention names, but I can talk about it.
Come on, hit me with it.
So it was a law firm trying to get money from their old clients that hadn't paid.
Wow.
And then so how it lasted 3 days. Yep. Because
yes, you owe me money.
Right. Yeah. 3 days
Guilty.
worth of it. It should have been done day one, but it wasn't. And like Tim said, it probably shouldn't even went to trial anyway in the first place. So I was one of 8. So so during the questioning, I'm like, well, I don't really want to do this. But then after all the questioning got done, I thought, if I don't get picked, I really want to know why. And then I got picked or whatever. So
I didn't get picked for my double. Literally, I was on that
double murder.
Yeah, I was jury number 2. I was upset I didn't get picked for. I think it's because I got some friends in the police force, so that didn't go over well. But I'm like, he's innocent. Like I'm a person. He's innocent until proven guilty. Right. I truly think that.
Yeah.
But I didn't get picked. So
the civil suit went on to the attorneys were trying to get money out of the defendants.
Get money out of them, or they already owed
compensated.
them the money?
Get compensated for the services that were performed. So,
speaking of services,
so on Wednesday, as we finally went into deliberations, and of course, all 8 of us said that yes, they are responsible for the money, but the deciding factor was what amount of money, and I'm like. So $1 trillion. So exactly. So I picked up the contract and I said, the contract right here says that they are due what they perform in the contract, the whole amount of money.
Yeah.
And other people didn't see it that way.
Really?
So,
why?
Because they felt that there were people that felt like there was a breach of contract one time during there where the law firm did not get a task done in the correct amount of time, so they felt there was a breach, so they weren't deserving of the whole thing of the contract.
The task done.
Right.
The contract says you're going to pay me regardless. It doesn't say if the task gets done.
I'm the only one that said they're owed the full amount.
We would have had a hung jury because I'm going to tell you right now. I'm like, no, it's not the they didn't agree on the task must be accomplished this way.
Right.
The contract says you're going to pay me for every freaking hour, I assume.
Right.
So
was it 7-1 then?
I've been waiting.
Was it 7-1? Or was it 8-0?
It would have been 1-7.
1-7?
Because I was the only one that said it was a
Okay.
full contract.
Oh, yeah.
So it was 8-0 on that.
They're guilty.
Yes. In favor of the plaintiffs.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was 1-7 that
It would have been.
So was this law firm now secretly contacted you for hiring?
No, it was. I mean, I can say it's all public record if you brought it up.
No, it's good stuff, man.
I just would rather not.
So when I went through the double murder, whatever, and I was jury number 2, the prosecution come by and they're like, the American flag that hangs behind the judge or whatever's got the tassels and stuff that come down, and like, can you, without a reasonable doubt, say that that's the American flag? And the guy next to me was like, well, I don't know without you holding it all the way out, and I can count the stars and the stripes and I see the tassels kind of, do this or whatever. I'm thinking to myself, like, dog, that is the American flag. There without reasonable doubt.
Wow.
That is the American flag to me, right? It's inside. So use the contents. We're inside of an American courtroom. The American flag's on the left of the judge. The state flag's on the right of the judge. This is in every freaking state courtroom. You see the red, white, and blue. You see the tassels and how they got it on the and typically when you have it on a gold pole, that's what they sit on. Like, use your common freaking sense that is without reasonable doubt. Now, I get it. They didn't prove it is. They didn't come up and say, okay, here's every... They didn't say, here's every star. They didn't label them and say, this is... Union number 1, Union number 2. And
right.
They didn't say, let's look at the blue on there. Is this blue really the true blue? The question is, and the whole point of the prosecution was with reasonable doubt, right? Or is it guilty without reasonable doubt? Like,
right.
That flag is the American flag. So then finally, he snaked it and it come back to me. And he's like, what do you got to say? And everyone's like, well, I kind of got with this. I'm with him, this and that. And I'm like, no. So he come to me and I'm like, he goes, is that, what do you think about what everyone else said? I said, well, first of all, let me just stop you there. That's the American flag. Context clues tell me that's the American flag. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm willing to bet everything on that's the American daggone flag. There's no doubt in my mind that that's the American flag. Why? They're going through all this other nitpicking. Mm-hmm. And, a lot of people are like, we need a timeline. We got to have this. And, when was that flag created? I'm like, oh, my gosh, people, that's...
Well, there's a conspiracy about that.
About what?
About the tassels with the flag and what that really represents versus why aren't they at every federal building? They're usually with the tassels at every...
Is it the American flag? That's the question. Can you be sure that that's an American flag? And I didn't do it. It crossed my mind after the fact. You know how like the next day after you get out of a meeting, and the next day you're like, or that night you're sitting there talking to the wife or whatever, and you're like, shit, why didn't I say that? Yeah. I wanted to say, I guarantee you it was made in China. I bet everyone in here would agree it's made in China.
There you go.
Like I bet they would give you that, no doubt that was made in China, but they won't give you this American flag.
Right.
And that blows my mind.
Crazy.
Yeah. So
then I was excused.
Like going back.
You're excused.
Going back to my trial, there were people looking through both the plaintiff and the defendant's books about the what they brought to the case, and there were people going back like page through page, like looking for whatever. And I'm like, these are the only 2 pages that matter. The contract, the signed contract that they performed the duty that they had signed to do.
Is this
all
your
this
autograph?
Other shit is not relevant. None of it's relevant.
Can you verify this is your autograph? And then we go through the verbiage of that contract that's in a conversation.
Yeah.
And I'm all about innocence. Like, I sit there and watch. Have you seen that Cops Reloaded and the regular Cops is coming back on, or it used to be like Live PD and stuff?
Yeah.
I'm all about the defendant. I'm like, you don't have the right to search that vehicle. You don't have the right to do that to that person.
Right.
There's no need to do this.
Right.
And I've been there, right? And I get why you got to be aggressive. And the cops have to control the situation to ensure that they have the power to enforce what they've got. But I'm all about the defendant. I am 100% you're innocent till proven guilty.
Exactly.
But do you sign this contract? It's a real simple question. If I'm the plaintiff suing them, is that your signature? Yes. So that means that you said you abide by everything within this little piece of paper that you're holding up.
Yep.
And they say yes. Yep. Assuming they don't lie on a perjury. All right. I rest my case.
Yes. Yep.
Jurors, take this back, read over it, and tell me if anything was violated.
Right. Yeah.
Why?
Crazy. Crazy.
Some people are just strange.
And we go back to your vaccine comment. If a lie detector is 99.6% freaking accurate, when the virus is so deadly, why aren't we putting everyone just on a lie detector and call it a day? We don't even need a juror.
Right.
There you go.
Yep. Completely.
If it's that accurate, and they say that like 10% of people on death row is inaccurate, okay, I'll take my chance with 99.6.
Yeah.
If it's really that good, and there's a way to go around it, okay, that's the 0.4.
Yeah.
I'll take my chances to let 0.4% off and capture the 99.6.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. Definitely.
I don't. Man, shit's gonna happen. That's all I gotta say.
Ship is gonna happen. I think that's all I got this week on random thoughts. Unless you guys have
Tim,
anything.
you got any random thoughts?
Oh boy, we can go all Saturday morning. I only got a few beers left, so we better get going to the Great Divide.
Great
There we go
Divide.
on this Saturday afternoon.
Well, jazz, man. We ain't even afternoon. We ain't even there yet, but we gonna be.
You guys
down.
gonna do that today?
No, I've got a honeydew list this long. So
okay.
Look
actually,
like Santa Claus. Boy,
actually,
he just
Brian's
unrolled
Christmas shopping.
Brian's heading to my house here shortly, so I need to meet him up there.
Did he bring his own ladder?
Yeah,
By the
he's
way,
bringing
David
ladder.
B does not have his own
Shut
ladder.
up.
Homeowner for 47 years and
Right.
don't have his own
Oh,
ladder.
man.
Anyway, let's talk about something else.
Hey, you're listening to The Ship's Gonna Happen. Tony B, David B, and Timmy D with you. You can catch us on YouTube, Rumble, iTunes, SoundCloud, and our home base, www.shipsgonnahappen.com. Thanks for listening today. Thanks to John Williams, the driver. We are out.
Later.